Alright, this is the video for the emotional intelligence assignment, and keep in mind that cautionary statement up there. If you just watch the video, you're not going to have all the information that you need in order to be successful with the assignment. You must read the assigned texts. These videos are just to help you engage with the information in the text. Alright, so in the video that address the mindset assignment. At the end of that, I was talking about balance and the balance between the assessing and understanding one's biases and putting structures in place to help achieve that balance. Well, in addressing the emotional intelligence assignment, you're going to go through an assessment, and you're going to end up with some scores. And you can think of that as, oh, look, I'm better in this area than I am in this area. Or this person scored me higher in this area than I did in that area. Or this person scored me lower in that area than I did in that area. So in that sense, you can think of it, that kind of balance in terms of, oh, look, here's an area where I'm better than in this other area. So maybe if I invest my energies in this area, I'll help balance those out. I want to talk about another kind of balance, and that is when these areas are when you're actually performing these things. So each of these is its own area, like empathy. But it doesn't exist on its own. So that's why I've got all 5 things listed with all the other 5. Because all of these things are going on in you all of the time at the same time. So it's not like layers or distinct actions that you're performing. You're not like, okay, now I am performing my empathy, and you're no longer doing anything related to self-awareness, self-regulation, motivation, and social skills. All of these are intertwined. And so while the exercise asks about these individually, and the readings in the additional resources section, which you need to go to identify and pull out some additional resources to use in your assignments to be successful, you will find some additional readings in there about emotional intelligence. All of these things, these skill areas or these ability areas, these are all intertwined. And so when you're doing the act of self-regulation, you're also doing all those other things. So the pulling them apart and separating them and going, oh, okay, how am I doing in this area? How am I doing in that area? Is helpful in terms of concentrating your thoughts about one of the areas and paying more attention to, let's say, your motivation. Excuse me. But these are not separable things. These are all operating at the same time. So that's important to keep in mind when you're doing your emotional intelligence assignment, like when you're going through your day and you're assessing. With the mindset assignment, you can also apply these same ideas when you look at your mindset assignment through the lens of emotional intelligence. You could look back at that, what you were doing each day, and say, okay, now I'm going to use these lenses of these terms and what these things mean. Before, I did the mindset assignment with just the lens of fixed mindset or growth mindset. Now I could apply these lenses to my same actions. And in the mindset assignment, at the end of it, we talked about that idea of using the lenses to focus in on our biases. So you have all of these different lenses that you can apply and move in between them, but they're all operating at the same time. I'm going to put self-awareness in the middle because for people who have very little self-awareness, all of these things are much more challenging if they don't have a great degree of self-awareness. And self-awareness is a thing that you can have a certain amount of self-awareness in the moment, and you can have self-awareness that occurs later after a situation occurred, and when you reflect back on it, you can have additional self-awareness. So those are two different ways of thinking of self-awareness. In the moment, how much self-awareness do I have about what I'm doing, what I'm about to say next, how I'm going to respond to whatever occurs next, how I'm going to interact with the people around me if they do this or that or this, or how am I going to interpret this kind of action or that kind of action. So now I want to talk just a little bit about, I want to pull out a couple of examples. I pulled out some quotes directly out of this. This isn't your assigned reading, so don't worry about it. But some of you maybe have more knowledge about emotional intelligence and may have read some additional texts on this subject. And this is one of Goleman's books that came out after his groundbreaking book in the late 90s about emotional intelligence. And I just grabbed, almost at random, this quote. So this is in a section that is titled The Leadership Ripple Effect. And he writes, the emotional tone set by any leader ripples downward with remarkable precision. Now that's this really stark statement, isn't it? I mean, that's like saying, oh my God, it's all on the one leader in a pyramid structure of an organization. There's a pyramid structure. The leader is at the top. The leader at the top is the only one doing leadership. And that emotional tone ripples down with remarkable precision. Well, that statement in Goleman's work, and I'm applying critical analysis here. I'm demonstrating that by critically analyzing this one individual statement of his. So he's got a citation for that particular statement where he's citing a Navy study that was conducted. One study. One research study with just one organization and at just one point in time with a finite set of individuals. That's based on that one study. He's making this blanket statement about all leaders everywhere, and there's also these underlying premises embedded in this statement about what a leader is, what kind of structure positions a leader, where is the leader positioned in the structure, this hierarchical pyramid shape of the way that people are positioned in relation to each other. All of that is embedded in this one sentence. So just like with any of your other readings that you're doing for this class and any of your classes, applying your critical thinking skills and really analyzing these statements and not taking them as, this isn't fortune cookie wisdom here. But that's kind of how it's written, right? The emotional tone set by any leader ripples downward with remarkable precision. And in the same, on the same page, Goleman goes on to state, the average leaders. Now, who wants to be an average leader? Raise your hand. Right? I mean, there's a lot implied here. There's a lot of meaning embedded here. The average leaders tend to be invisible. Now, again, he's still only referring to this one study done with however many people, but just one study at one point in time done in the United States Navy organization. Now, what does he mean by invisible? There's a whole bunch of meaning embedded in there too. He doesn't mean literally invisible, right? There's cultural meaning embedded in there. There's organizational culture meaning embedded in that word. What he means invisible. That's not he hasn't provided an operational definition of what he means by invisible. But clearly, that's conveying something that's not something that he's not. That first part of that sentence is not positioned as, oh, this is what you want to be. you, the reader of his book, wants to be an average leader. That's what's clear about this sentence. The best leaders frequently walk around and strike up conversations with their staff, asking about families and other personal matters. And he's setting out this contrast in just this, in a really stark way, but in a completely uncontextualized way. You know, what are the variables that were used to identify these average leaders? What does invisible mean? Were these characteristics or these behaviors of walking around and striking up conversations, interrupting the staff's work and asking about families and personal matters? Some of the staff, that might have been a huge interruption for them. They might have thought, oh my God, here comes the boss again. Here comes the colonel, the general, whatever. Oh no, this was Navy, so it would have been a captain. Here comes the admiral. Here comes the commander. And I've got to yik-yak with them. I better come up with a good story about what I did this weekend with my kids, because he's going to ask me, and I'm going to have to engage with this personal chit-chat, even though all he's doing is interrupting my work. So I'm describing a particular kind of scenario, right, to show that there's another way of reading this information here. Now, I'm not criticizing Goldman's work. I am applying critical thinking to it, though, and that's, as an example, of the kind of critical thinking that's in your critical thinking reading assignment that I want all of you to be applying when you're doing these assignments. Apply the critical thinking to what you're reading and apply it to how you're interpreting that reading. And I want you to apply that same critical thinking to your own experiences. So this wraps up the emotional intelligence assignment, and I'll see you next time.